Protest taking place outside Karnataka, and this is right in the heart of national capital Delhi. There's been a protest outside Karnataka Bhawan in Delhi, which is right in the heart of the national capital. These are pro-hijab protests that are taking place in the national capital. Remember, all other states are also witnessing similar agitation, specifically in support of these protesting girls. We can see some of these students, some of these protesters, I beg your pardon, being detained by the police. Let's just listen in if they're trying to say something to the media persons deployed there. These are the protests not from Karnataka, it's actually from the national capital Delhi, where some of the protesters have come out in support of the protesting girls. They're immediately being detained by the deployed police personnel, and they are stating that, and they're claiming they are even being manhandled. They are being beaten up, is what these protesters are saying. So far, it appears most of them have now been detained. We'll try and get you the details. Now, what this precisely, remember, is also now becoming a law and order issue, not only in Karnataka, but in other areas as well. So, of course, from the campus to the court to the streets, the issue is everywhere right now, this hijab showdown. I want you to listen in again to my colleague Anisha Mathur. She's on the ground getting us this visuals from Delhi. Right, so these are protests coming in from Delhi right now, and Karnataka Bhawan is, for people who may not know, is in the center, is in central Delhi, as it is called. It is the heart of Delhi, and this protest taking place there. And for now, we are being told, as you can see, that's the protesters who are being detained. We will try and find out who precisely are these protesters. Are they from any specific group? What exactly are they saying? We'll try and get you as many voices as we can right now. And this, while there is a hearing taking place in the Karnataka High Court. Very angry protesters in Delhi who are currently being detained by the Delhi police and other forces that are also being deployed in that area. Anisha Mathur is now live with me. Anisha, these are, of course, I can see that they have immediately been detained. They appear very angry. Who are these protesters? Are they from any group? What are they saying? What is really their reason for the protest right now today?
Well, Pooja, the call for a protest had gone out on behalf of several left groups, including ISA and others, including ILAD, which is the All India Lawyers Association for Justice. These students, these people who have come here, have said that they are students from Jamia, from JNU, they're ISA members, and they're members of several other groups. And you can see here, police has set up barricades more than 100 meters away from the Karnataka Bhawan. We're outside the Assam Bhawan right now, and at least two buses full of protesters have already been taken away. At the moment, the situation is clear, the road is clear, there's nobody around. But I'm going to ask my cameraman Abhishek to just pan around and show you. There is a massive police presence all around this Karnataka Bhawan, on Sardar Patel Marg. On both sides, there is, for some time, the traffic on one road on Sardar Patel Marg was also blocked off for a few minutes. And while the protesters were coming here, the police was stopping all autos and cars and checking IDs of people who were coming. And what these people are saying is that they were here to gherav the Karnataka Bhawan, to give a representation to the resident commissioner for Karnataka, saying that what is being done in Karnataka is in fact violation of the fundamental rights of these women students. They've also said that the government is trying to trample on the fundamental rights to propagate and profess religion. It's trying to stop students from studying in colleges because, according to them, there should not have been a ban on women students who are wearing a hijab from entering the schools and colleges.
Yes.
At the moment, as you mentioned, the Karnataka High Court is in fact hearing this petition. A petition was also mentioned before the Supreme Court on this very issue this morning, where the petitioner has pointed out that there is a right to profess religion under Article 25, that the Supreme Court 9-judge bench should be looking into the question of the limit of state and court interference into the practices which are essential practices of a religion. So
Stay on with me, Anisha, because I would like our viewers to again take a look at the report that you just sent. Remember, this is a very high-profile area, the Sardar Patel Marg, where the Karnataka Bhawan is situated. And what Anisha is telling us, the police ensured beforehand, they were already checking identity cards. It's not that they were permitting this massive protest to take place. They do not want the situation to snowball in that area. Listening to what Anisha Mathur sent us just about a few minutes ago.
By the police, protesters are being taken away by the Delhi police.
आप लोग की मांग क्या है भैया? ये देखिए बड़ी संख्या में जो प्रोटेस्टर्स हैं दूसरे
Protesters are being taken away here at the Karnataka Bhawan as the police pushes them into the buses. And you can see here students from various student organizations in Delhi, from various universities across the city, have tried to gherav the Karnataka Bhawan today, and they are now being taken away in the buses by the Delhi police. Protesters are being taken away from the Karnataka Bhawan here by the police while shouting slogans against the Karnataka government as well as the Delhi police. They say that not only is the right of Muslim women to wear what they want and wear a hijab and follow their religious teaching is being violated, the right of these students to protest in peace in Delhi is also being violated. With cameraman Abhishek in New Delhi, this is Anisha Mathur for India Today.
Abhishek and Anisha Mathur getting us that latest from the ground in Delhi. Anisha Mathur now continues to be live with me. Anisha, at this point, while these left groups are protesting and they're stating that the girls in Karnataka are being discriminated against, what precisely I could see from what the visuals that you're sending me is a massive deployment of the police. And I think there's also the CRPF, if I've got it correct, which means that the police deployment was already there to perhaps ensure that they're not caught by surprise with these protests that are taking place.
Pooja, I don't know if you can hear me right now.
I can.
1 second before you came to meet a bus full of protesters with holding placards of the KYS, which is also a student organization, a student political party, has just passed by. It was not allowed to stop. The police gave off that bus. This was a bus full of protesters who were coming towards the Karnataka Bhawan. And I'm going to ask Abhishek to just pan around and show you the barricading and police presence that is here. Delhi police is here out in full force. CRPS is here. Central Reserve Police Force is also here in full force to ensure that nothing untoward happens. As you just mentioned, this is a very, very important area. This is a very high-profile area. And several meters away from the Karnataka Bhawan, barricading has been set up. In fact, if you can see in the visuals, Abhishek, if you can just pan around and show them, Sardar Patel Marg, the left turn from this road towards Sardar Patel Marg is being regulated by the police. People who are trying to take a left turn from this particular road are not being allowed to go without their IDs being checked. The police has set up a massive cordon around this area. And this cordon, in fact, was set up by around 2 o'clock because the protest call was for 3 p.m. And for more than an hour before the protest is scheduled to begin, this kind of cordoning of all access roads towards the Karnataka Bhawan was done by the Delhi police to ensure that no untoward incident takes place. So far, just about a few dozen students had managed to reach this particular area, and all of them have been detained in buses and have been taken to the Mandirmal police station. But you can see here, student organizations are trying their best to register their protest against the Karnataka Hijab ban. Back to you.
All right, Anisha Mathur telling us about the latest situation in Delhi. Remember, this is while Karnataka schools and colleges have been shut for a while there is deliberation and arguments there in the Karnataka High Court. Protests have spiraled out of the state in the heart of Delhi, right outside the Karnataka Bhawan, where, according to Anisha, these groups were claiming they wanted to give a letter, a referendum, a memorandum, beg your pardon, to the administration there, but that was not permitted. They were immediately detained. Anisha, we are staying with the visuals there of these protesters. They are being taken away, extremely angry. Are they college students? Are you telling me they are from different left groups? Any specific allegiance that they're saying? What is the reason? They're saying that they want the girls to return, whether or not they want to wear the hijab or not. Is that one of their concerns here?
If you can hear me, Pooja, these people who were detained, we managed to speak to some of them. They are claiming to be from various universities and student organizations in Delhi. At least one person claimed to be from ISA, one has claimed to be from JNU, some have said that they are Jamia students. So while the profile of all the protesters is not known, largely the people at least who've spoken out are people who are claiming to be students from various universities and members of various student organizations. A very short while ago, a bus full of protesters carrying placards which had the name of KYS, which is also a student organization, a student political party, has also passed by here, but it was not allowed to stop by the police. It was waved off. And here you can see these protests are happening. The call for the protest that went out on social media went out on behalf of various groups, including ISA, including the other left groups, including a group called ILA.
Stay on with me because you've been constantly sending us updates as while she's live with us. She's also sending us updates and reactions. I want our viewers to now listen in to one reaction that has come of the protester there in Delhi. Let's listen.
कर्नाटक सरकार से हम फैसला सरकार से मांग करने आए हैं। आपके स्टेट में एक लड़की के खिलाफ इतने सरकार लगे हुए हैं। कर्नाटक में जिस तरीके से दंगा भड़काने का काम हो रहा है, उसके खिलाफ हम कर्नाटक भवन पे घेराव करने आए हैं। कर्नाटक सरकार से इस बात का फैसला लेगा।
So, Anisha, these are the protesters there who've now been detained, right? So, this was just about a short while ago. If possible, if you can show us the location as of now, only the police deployment. And Anisha is also telling us there was a bus of protesters who tried to stop. They were not even permitted to stop by the police, who immediately asked them to move on from that location.
Well, yes, Pooja, police have made a very, very strict bandobast around here. You can see, I'm going to ask Abhishek to just stand around and show you. You can see the barricading has been put on the road that is coming in towards the Assam Bhavan on this particular near the Palika Center. All access towards the Karnataka Bhawan proper has actually been stopped. And if you can just continue with us, Abhishek, it is going to try and show you on the other side as well. This is the turn towards the Sardar Patel Marg, which is a very major artery of Delhi. And you can see on the side as well, the turn towards the left, which is towards Karnataka Bhawan or Sardar Patel Marg, that is being blocked. There is heavy police presence on the red light at between Assam Bhavan and Sardar Patel Marg, so that people cannot go towards the Karnataka Bhavan. And as behind me, around 100 meters to my left, is actually Karnataka Bhavan. All access to Karnataka Bhavan was blocked at least 45 minutes before the protest was scheduled to occur. The police is making sure that no untoward incidents happen in the heart of Delhi here, even as the Karnataka High Court is hearing the matter. Layers of barricading have been set up, and you can see, if I can just show you here, police as well as CRPF is out in full force. Senior police officials are at the site. They're monitoring the situation as it develops. But right now, the protest is pretty much over. The groups of protesters who had come have been detained, but there are still buses waiting. There are still police personnel waiting. In case any other protesters come, they will also be detained. Because remember, the Delhi police has not given any permission for a protest to be carried out in this area, especially since the Karnataka High Court is still hearing this matter. But we are seeing this kind of street protest happening not just in Delhi, but we saw this kind of protest happening in Bangalore as well. We've seen some protests in other parts of the country as well. So clearly,
in fact, Bengal, Anisha, Maharashtra and Delhi also now, where these pro-protests are taking place. But meanwhile, while the protests are escalating on the ground, mostly supporting the protesting girls in Karnataka to wear their headscarf into the schools and colleges. We're getting updates now from the Karnataka High Court. The petitioner has said politicians cannot judge constitutional rights, and students meanwhile are asserting to the right to wear their headscarf or the full body veil. Anisha, because you're also tracking the court updates coming in right now, because what exactly is the petitioners putting forth? Are they talking about what is essential to religion? Are they referring to the right to education, fundamental rights, a mix of all of that? Because there's also, it appears, hijab is freedom of conscience and faith is what the petitioner arguments are right now today.
Well, yes, Pooja. Now, we need to remember that the Chief Justice of the Karnataka High Court has made a very clear request that the oral observations of the court and the oral arguments should not be needlessly speculated upon and should not be reported as such. What we are going to, however, discuss is the basic arguments that the petitioner lawyers have put forth. Remember, what the petitioners are saying is that there is an Article 25 fundamental right to profess religion, to propagate religion, and to wear and to actually display any religious ornaments or clothing as is there. Now, we also need to remember that what these students are saying is that they will follow the dress code and the uniform that has been dictated by the universities, but they also want the right to continue to wear the hijab on top of the uniform, because hijab is effectively a head covering, while the uniform is also there. So they have argued that wear the uniform as long as you let us wear the hijab in the same colors as the uniform that has been prescribed. One argument that Senior Advocate Sanjay Hegde and Detain Farmers have raised is that the Karnataka government order that was passed upholding the penalties that have been put on these students, upholding the ban on the hijab.
With me, yes, because Anisha is telling us not only what is happening in the court, but also what's happening on the ground in Delhi. These protests are now escalating, spreading across. These are protesters supporting the girls in Karnataka who have said they want to wear the headscarf and they want to be allowed into the classrooms while the classes and the schools are shut for now. Nolan, what is the update coming in from the Karnataka High Court? Because this is now about hijab or the headscarf becoming about freedom of conscience, about faith, about essential rights, all of that being discussed today.
Well, in fact, he has now stated, this is Advocate Hegde, he says that constitutional rights cannot be left to the adjudication of politicians, whether they are in power or not, or whether they are elected or unelected. Basically, he is actually focusing on the government order that was issued, the notification last Saturday, which stated that if you have a hijab, you cannot enter, keeping in mind integrity, uniformity, and also public order. Furthermore, he says that the petitioners assert the right to wear a hijab on the freedom of conscience as well as their right to religion. He added that the lead case on freedom of conscience is Bijo Emmanuel, where the court decided on the freedom of conscience without going into religious practice. Now, it's also interesting because earlier on, Pooja, we had actually spoken about this part where he says the normal rule of adjudication is that if the court can dispose on a smaller question than going into the larger question, the Chief Justice then tells him that we prima facie feel that that stage is over as the issues have been referred to us, that is the larger bench, by the single bench. The single judge has already said the matter involves important constitutional issues, and that is why Advocate Hegde says that constitutional rights cannot be left to the adjudication of politicians. In fact, he is now referring to the Kerala High Court judgment which held hijab as an essential religious practice. So we have to wait and see what really takes place as of now.
Stay on with me, politicians.